Alrighty guys, it's me again. Welcome back. At this point in time, you should have read Act 1 of Romeo and Juliet, and you should have read Act 2. We read Act 1 last week in class on Wednesday, and we read Act 2 this week in class on Monday. So if you prefer to do it as a group, you should watch those recordings, and if you prefer to do it independently, by all means, that would be wonderful. Okay, perfectly acceptable to do that. Today's writing assignment is going to ask you to take basic comprehension, integrate it with text analysis, and now we're going to make some connections. We're going to ask you to take on the point of view of 3 different characters based on the events that occurred in Act 1 and Act 2. So this is asking you to dig pretty deep, but also take what you've inferred and the connections you've made in the text with your comprehension, and now apply it to expository writing. So we have a lot going on here, but you are certainly capable of doing this, okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do for number 1 is pretend that you're Juliet. So boys, you got to put on your long flowy locks and pretend you're Juliet, okay? Put on your high voices. All right. After they make their plans, Romeo leaves her at the balcony. Juliet goes back inside. She digs out her journal from underneath her pillow and begins to write about the events of the evening, which is the party, the balcony, the kiss, and their plans. Write her entry. What would Juliet think? What would she be emotionally expressing, and what are their plans for the future? You are taking on Juliet's perspective and her point of view. Okay, so you're going to need to integrate a lot of what you've learned, a lot of what you've inferred, and now apply it into writing. Number 2, girls, you're going to have to put on your male voices. Boys, you can shed those long locks and you can be men again. After he leaves Juliet at her balcony, Romeo is on his way to see Friar Lawrence at the church. However, he feels badly for ditching Benvolio and Mercutio, so he decides to write them a note explaining his actions. You're going to write his note to his friends. Okay? He ditches them, remember, for most of the evening and doesn't come back till the early morning. What is Romeo thinking? Step into his shoes, become his perspective. That is number 2. And you can write these answers, guys, right under, in the space provided here. Number 3, I need you all to shed your women and men, and I want you to become friar. Okay, he's a priest. You're now going to become a priest, and you're going to speak from the perspective of friar. Everything that's going on in Act 1, everything that's going on in Act 2, let's write from his perspective. After Romeo convinces the friar to marry him to Juliet, the friar feels the need to talk it over with one of the other priests, Friar John, just to make sure he's thought everything through and is convinced of Romeo's feelings and that he, the friar, is doing the right thing. Write their conversation. This should be about a half of a page, guys. So what would Friar John say to Friar Lawrence? If you don't remember either of the characters or their points of view, you're going to need to go back and reread. Remember, we're talking reading strategies as well. This assignment is very involved. Very many levels I'm asking you to do, and then integrate your writing, which is the final thing. Questions or comments, let me know. We have class on Wednesday. I recommend that you've done the persuasive letter to Friar before even starting this. That way you have a background for number 3. You also know what Romeo's thinking, and you know what Juliet's thinking. So let me know if you guys have any questions or comments, but that is the goal for this assignment. Good luck, and have fun.